Hello, this is Yaren Yılmaz from second grade in ELT, and today I will talk about the language acquisition theories, which is an area that I have been interested in since I took the course Teaching Principles and Methods and Curriculum Development in Education. So let me tell you a few things about this video. In this video, I delve into the world of language acquisition theories and what are the main theories that explains the language acquisition, what factors influence our language development, from behaviorist perspectives to cognitive approaches. We will explore the world of language acquisition theories in brief. So I want you to join me as I embark on a journey into the language acquisition theories. So if you're ready, let's start. So, I will briefly talk about the four main theories of language acquisition that we learned in the first chapter. And the first one is behavioral theory. Behavioral theory is a theory of B.F. Skinner's, and this is the B.F. Skinner. This photo is left from my previous assignments, that's why I have his photo and the other ones as well. Behavioral theory is also called imitation theory. And it suggests that we are a product of our environments. Therefore, children have no internal ability or internal mechanism to develop the language by themselves. They first practice the language by imitating their caregivers or parents, and then they modify the use of language due to the operant conditioning. What is operant conditioning? It is a way of learning that focuses on the reward, which is positive reinforcement, or the punishment, which is negative reinforcement, or desired, undesired behaviors. So here's an example. You train a dog by feeding it when it obeys your commands, or you can stop it from sleeping in your bed by ignoring him or discouraging it verbally. But how does operant conditioning apply to the language acquisition? Let me tell you. As we mentioned before, Skinner suggested that children learn their first words by imitating their caregivers or parents, and eventually they try to use the language correctly. So in this case, operant conditioning occurs when a parent gives a response to the child's attempts. If the child uses the language correctly, they may give a response to them by telling you are clever or otherwise showing their approval. If the child makes a request such as asking for food, the caregiver may reward the child by providing it. This is positive reinforcement. But if the child uses the language incorrectly or makes a mistake, they are more likely to get negative reinforcement. They can be told that they are wrong, then corrected, or simply be ignored. So negative reinforcement teaches the child which mistake to avoid or how to correct them. When it comes to second language acquisition, the behaviorists emphasize the importance of the exposure to the target language. So learners imitate the speech and structures they hear from natives. Throughout some exposure and practice, they refine their linguistic ability by receiving some positive feedback. So let's move on with the cognitive theory, which is our second theory, and cognitive theory is Jean Piaget's theory. This is the Jean Piaget. The cognitive theory of language acquisition suggests that the primary drives behind our actions are our thoughts and internal processes. So Jean Piaget assumed that the children have the little cognitive ability, but their minds develop and build new schemas as they age and explore the world around them. Eventually, they can apply language to their schemas through assimilation. Jean Piaget also believed that the cognitive development had to come before the language development, as it would be impossible for a child to express the things they don't know yet. For example, Imagine a child with no sense of time. He or she couldn't be able to express the things in future tense or speak hypothetically, no matter how much language they are taught. So when we look at all this information, Jean Piaget's cognitive theory for second language learning highlights that a learner must have a certain level of cognitive development to effectively grasp the second language. This theory emphasized that the language development builds on a cognitive abilities, suggesting that learners need a solid cognitive foundation to understand the second language. Another theory is nativist theory, which is also called innateness theory, and it's Noam Chomsky's theory. And this is Noam Chomsky, if I am not mistaken. He proposes that children are born with an innate ability or drive or instincts for language learning, and he calls it LAD, which is language acquisition device. He argues that even if a child is not educated in their country's name, as long as they are grown in a normal environment, they can still devise a system of verbal communication. Therefore, there must be an innate biological component for the language acquisition. He argues that the independent building of language is an evidence that language acquisition is biological and it's not a purely product of being taught or copying caregivers. So he suggested that the LAD contained the knowledge of universal grammar, which is the basic shared grammar rules that all the human languages share. Chomsky's LAD does not specifically address second language acquisition, as it's primarily focused on the first language acquisition. And now we have interactionist theory, which is a theory of Brunner. This is Brunner. He believed that children are born with an ability to develop language, but they require regular interaction with their caregivers or their teachers to learn and understand it to full fluency. This idea is known as the Language Acquisition Support System, LASS. Caregivers tend to correct the mistakes that children make when using language, and also they teach them what objects are and what are their purposes. Brunner suggests that this helps them to build the scaffolding that children will rely on later in their life. A caregiver may also use child-directed speech, which is CDS, and altering their own language use to make it easier for a child to conceptualize the language independently. So what is this CDS and how does it aid language acquisition? CDS, or child-directed speech, is commonly known as baby talk in everyday life. It is when an adult tries to change their use of language when talking to a baby or a young child. This includes changes such as slower speech or higher voice or different intonations, etc. And these strategies, they are all simplifying the language to make them understand the language more easily. Brunner believed that CDS was adopted to make language more simple, more accessible, and easy to understand. According to this theory, children cannot develop an understanding of the more complex parts of the language alone. Thus, CDS acts as an infant-friendly introduction to the language that can be built on throughout the infancy, early childhood, and into the school. In conclusion, delving into the various language acquisition theories presented by Noam Chomsky, Jean Piaget, Brunner, and Skinner offers us a comprehensive understanding of how individuals acquire language. Chomsky's LAD, language acquisition device, underscores the innate and universal aspects of language learning, while Brunner emphasizes the role of social interaction and scaffolding. Piaget's cognitive constructivism theory underscores the connection between cognition and language acquisition. Additionally, Skinner's behaviorist approach highlights the importance of the reinforcement and conditioning in language acquisition. By exploring these diverse theories, we gain valuable insights into the intricate process that shape our ability to communicate and acquire language, further enriching our understanding of human cognition and development. And that's all for my final assignment. I hope you like it and I hope you are not bored. Thank you for watching.